Beach Hotel, Council Meeting, Evening. Well, Hatter cleared his throat demonstratively, leant over the large table with feigned nonchalance, and let his gaze wander meaningfully over our faces. Is there something urgent to discuss tonight? There was an intense silence for a moment. Questioning glances wandered back and forth between the members of the so-called council, the leadership of our little community, which we all just called Beach, a provisional utopia that I had been allowed to call home for a few weeks. Nobody spoke up until a chair was finally pushed back noisily. It was Anne who stood up. Her cool, serious gaze slid over us. Yes, I have an urgent matter. Yamada-san, our only medic with clinical experience, died in a game yesterday. A slight murmur went through the group, but Anne continued unperturbed. As you know, I'm a doctor myself, but I specialize in forensic medicine. In the long term, I can no longer guarantee the medical care of the Beach residents on my own. She paused as if she wanted to make sure that her words really got through to everyone. That's why we urgently need support. Ideally, someone with sound medical knowledge, but people in other health professions would also be a great help. Nurses, physiotherapists, alternative practitioners, anyone who can contribute in any way is welcome. So if you know of anyone who could do this, please let me know immediately. Her eyes glanced over us again. It was as if she was hoping to find a sign of reaction somewhere. When our eyes crossed, I endeavored to look as disinterested as possible. In an environment like this, indifference was often the best defense. It wasn't the first time that the Beach had been looking for medical staff. The need was huge, the volunteers rare. Either the qualifications were lacking or, like me, simply the motivation to get their hands dirty for our self-proclaimed guru. I didn't feel the urge to play the role of the self-sacrificing lifesaver, especially not for a bunch of people who could be dead tomorrow anyway. Pure waste of energy. For this reason, I had kept my professional past carefully under wraps until now, and I had no intention of changing that today either. Instead, I preferred to sit here and enjoy the show that was presented to me. The general despair, the uncoordinated chaos that was sure to break out very soon. I would watch as the Beach headed straight for its doom, and I had booked front-row tickets to witness the spectacle as close as possible. The only thing missing was the popcorn. Hatter made a theatrical hand gesture, and the forensic scientist sank back into her chair. Thank you, Anne. I'll do another shout-out to everyone tonight. Are there any comments? He looked expectantly over our faces, as if he could actually see something through the darkened lenses of his sunglasses. My gaze slid across the table. Niragi was polishing the barrel of his rifle, demonstratively bored. Aguni next to him looked as if his face had been molded in concrete, motionless, rigid, without any sign that anything was going on in his head. Mira was wearing her usual borderline obnoxious permanent smile, which looked so fake that you would have thought it had been stapled to her face. And Kuzuryu? He stared absorbedly at his open notebook, as if searching for an answer that would lead us out of this madhouse. Hatter suddenly crossed his arms and walked up and down without looking at us. Well then, I have something to tell you. You may have noticed that the Beach is bursting at the seams. We hardly have any rooms left and food supplies are running low. That means we need to send out a bigger supply squad again. I am also declaring a temporary recruitment freeze. No more people will be brought to Beach until I release the recruitments. Understood. And what if there are doctors among them? Anne asked reasonably. Hatter put his hand under his chin thoughtfully. That would be an exception, of course. I have a much better idea, Niragi suddenly intervened, standing up abruptly to point his gun at some of those present, laughing maliciously. How about we just shoot all the ones who aren't useful to the Beach? I took my hands out of my pockets and applauded. Everyone stared at me, puzzled. Really brilliant, Niragi. I suggest you start with yourself right away, I said as condescendingly as I could. The vein on his forehead began to pulse menacingly, and I could practically watch his blood pressure rise. Chishiya, he spat out my name like a swear word. His gun was aimed at me, and I heard him release the safety. "One more word, you dirty bastard, and I swear I'll k—" But Hatter had already put his hand on Niragi's shoulder and pushed him firmly back into his chair. "I want to beg very much. We are all civilized people after all." Aguni gave Niragi a stern look. Only then he reluctantly lowered his weapon, but continued to glare at me as if I were already on his hit list, which I certainly was. Not that I particularly cared. Niragi only felt superior as long as Aguni stood behind him like a loyal watchdog, and he could wave his deadly toy around in front of others. If all that was taken away from him, all that would be left was a scared little boy with a big mouth. "However," Hatter continued unperturbed, "I actually wouldn't mind a few more accidental casualties than usual at the games afterwards. More victims than usual. Some of the pack are certainly expendable if we can recruit new able-bodied residents to the beach in return." Niragi's expression immediately turned into a murderous grin, while a few others at the table seemed downright indignant at Hatter's suggestion. Anne and Kuzuryu in particular, although the latter tried not to let his surprise show. The others present, however, seemed relatively indifferent to his statement, or could hardly wait to put his proposal into practice. So much for being civilized. As far as I was concerned, they could do whatever they wanted as long as none of them got in my way. After more endless chatter about putting together a supply squad, the council meeting was finally over. I was the first at the table to get up and leave the room, because it was not lost on me that Niragi was still massacring me with his glances, and I did not want to give him any occasion to put his thoughts into action. I was aware that I would have been better off holding back, but why did he have to give me an advantage every time? "So, any news?" Quina was leaning against the wall in the corridor as if she had just been waiting for me to give her some new inside information, crunching away on her plastic handle as she went. "Niragi tried to kill me," she chortled in amusement. "That's not exactly news now. You should stop provoking him. One of these days he's really going to do it." "He's welcome to try. You're enjoying life to the max, aren't you?" She grinned, then followed me up to the roof. "Don't you ever get scared?" I snorted. "What would be the point if I did?" In reply, she shrugged. "Fear is a useless emotion that hinders you in everything and makes you unable to make rational decisions. Fear is for the weaks." Her smile looked a little pained, but she quickly pushed that aside. "So, what exactly did you guys talk about?" She tried again, looking at me with interest. "The usual. Nothing of any significance to our plan." "I see." She paused dramatically and stared thoughtfully into the evening glow that slowly stretched across the sky before us, bathing the beach in a golden-orange light. "There will be a lot of bloodshed again this night." "Don't you have to play again today?" I nodded. "Yes." "Well then, I hope to see you." I grinned smugly. "I'm sure you will."